Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Vamos. Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol.
Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Bhalabha Giripada Dhadi Vijanamba Gopi Jana Bhalabha Giripada Dhadi Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatira Vanachadi Jamunatira Vanachadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Gopi Jana Bala Girivada Dhadi Gopi Jana Bala Girivada Dhadi Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatiravanachati Jamunatiravanachati Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hadi Jaya Vishupad Param Ahamsa Astatar Asatasi Sumada Sarai Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavi Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gora Premanandi. That's how you move it. Secret. Now I know it. I noticed that many of the devotees have abundant chandan on your forehead. Not anybody, but many. You had a chandan festival or what? How does this happen? What's the procedure? Is it every Sunday? If you have a phone, you know what to do, right? Switch it into mode so this isn't going to happen. Thank you very much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate. Natmanam Bhavyamanyata Bhagavatjnana Putrena Manasanyam Tato Srijat Vrishva Papiyasim Trishtim. Hey, go ahead. Ladies. Drishva, by seeing. Apiyasim, sinful. Krishtim, creation. No, not. Atmanam, unto himself. Bahu, much pleasure. Amanyata, felt. Bhagavat, on the personality of Godhead. Jnana, meditation. Bhutena, purified by that. Manasa, by such a mentality. Anyam, another. Tataha, thereafter. Asrejat, created. Translation, seeing such a misleading creation as a sinful task, Brahma did not feel much pleasure in his activity, and therefore he purified himself by meditation on the personality of Godhead. Then he began another term of creation, purport. Although he created the different influences of nescience, Lord Brahma was not satisfied in performing such a thankless task. But he had to do it because most of the conditioned souls wanted it to be so. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15 that he is present in everyone's heart and is helping everyone to either remember or forget. The question may be raised, why the Lord, who is all merciful, helps one to remember and another to forget? Actually, his mercy is not exhibited in partiality towards one and enmity towards another. The living entity, as part and parcel of the Lord, is partially independent because he partially possesses all the qualities of the Lord. Anyone who has some independence may sometimes misuse it to ignorance. When the living entity prefers to misuse his independence and glide down towards nescience, the all-merciful Lord, first of all, tries to protect him from the trap, but when the living entity persists in gliding down to hell, the Lord helps him to forget his real position. The Lord helps the falling living entity glide down to the lowest point just to give him the chance to see if he is happy by misusing his independence. Paragraph. Almost all the conditioned souls who are rotting in the material world are misusing their independence, and therefore 5 kinds of nescience are imposed upon them. As an obedient servitor of the Lord, Brahma creates all these as a matter of necessity, but he is not happy in doing so, because a devotee of the Lord naturally does not like to see anyone falling down from his real position. Persons who do not care for the path of realization get full facility from the Lord for executing their proclivities to the fullest extent, and Brahma helps in that procedure without fail. Who would like to post with Brahma? He's an intimate servitor. Intimate servitor. I should like to, here's the 5 from the previous, yesterday first. Self-deception, sense of death, anger after frustration, sense of false ownership, and illusory bodily conception or forgetfulness of one's real identity. So there. Is everything all right? everything all right? In Singapore, you have Rath Yatra, right? Yes? Yes. There's some places in the world where they can't have Rath Yatra. Yes. But one time, I was attending a Rath Yatra in one city, and after the Rath Yatra festival that takes place after the Rath Yatra, and somebody brought a Chinese lady. Her name is T. T-E, pronounced T. So, introduced her, and she said, I have just one question. What's that? Why creation? And the quick response was like, what? Because we wanted it. Because otherwise there's no need for creation. And with creation comes the good and the bad. Or the features of duality, day and night, winter, summer, pleasure, displeasure, or suffering, sukha and dukkha. It's just the carrot is there for those who want carrots, and then what happens after the carrot is also part of the program. And the why is because we wanted it, but also the why is there because Krishna is reciprocating with what people want, but the purpose of reciprocating with what people want is to help them understand there's no happiness in that choice, that selection from the set of free will choices. The allure, then that something is there. The something is yehi samsparshaja bhoga. It's the anticipation of as Buddhism teaches, it's desire. That's the happiness. And the perception is that's happiness. Whatever. But built into that happiness is misery. It's part of the program. It's just part of the program. Part of the program. And the whole world is pursuing it. It's called ignorance. Two things. I haven't studied Buddhism, but I've studied Jiva Goswami. And some of you like Jiva Goswami. I like Jiva Goswami. He's one of my heroes. He's way up there. And in his Tattva Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami teaches a few things about the foundational teaching of Buddhism, and it's connected with desire, because that's what the topic is for this morning, because we wanted it. But Brahma doesn't want it. Brahma doesn't want to see people suffer. So, fill in the blank. The root cause, if you're Buddhist, are you in trance or what's happening? There. Okay. The root cause of suffering is, if you're Buddhist, the root cause of suffering is, yeah, sure, desire. Now you know. The root cause of suffering is desire. How to become free from suffering? Become desireless. Next question. How do you become desireless? Two things. Live a life in goodness, non-violence, cleanliness, truthfulness. Frame your life in the quality of goodness. And the second thing is, be in the moment. You've heard the phrase? Be in the moment. Mindfulness. That's the, in America, those two phrases are commonly used. Mindfulness. Mindfulness. Jiva Goswami takes it further and says, what is that mindfulness? Listen carefully. The phrase that Buddha uses, a Sanskrit phrase, is kshanak vijnanavad. We have an understanding of what vijnana means. There's jnana vijnana. And Prabhupada's explanation is theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge, or realized knowledge, vijnana. Jnana vijnana. The way that Buddha uses it is consciousness. Vijnana. And Vada means doctrine. The doctrine of consciousness is momentary. Kshanak. Calculation of time by the atom. It gives the divisions of time. And Kshanak is one of those divisions of time. And it's less than a second. It's a fraction of a second, or the blink of an eye. Kshanak. How long does it take for your eye to blink? It's one kshanak. So kshanak vijnanavad is the doctrine that says that consciousness is momentary. So my dear Buddhist student, practice being in the moment, because that's all there is. In fact, there isn't even the moment, but that comes next. So be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment. Live your life in goodness, be in the moment, be in the moment, be in the moment. Where's that train going? Answer. You go beyond the moment. What's that? Nirvana. What's nirvana? Answer. Cessation of material existence. Because material existence is, there's no such thing as consciousness. It's just moment to moment to moment to moment. The previous moment is gone. The one that hasn't happened doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. So if you're going to be a successful Buddha, you only can become desireless. Those two things. Become really good at mindfulness, being in the moment to get on the other side of the moment, and nirvana, the bell rings. You're enlightened. Nirvana, their definition is not ours. Their definition is cessation of material existence. Nirvana, the forest of material existence. Beyond the forest of material existence is nirvana, or void. Desire doesn't exist anymore. Material existence is resting upon desire. Material existence is suffering. It's not real. It just doesn't exist, and for that matter, you don't exist either. So there's nothingness. Welcome to the realm of nothingness. Now, Vaishnavas don't teach that same, the root cause of suffering is desire. Desire isn't the problem, because desire is of the soul. Correct? So how do you become desireless? You can't get a dagger and stab the soul and it just stops desiring. It's like the three states of consciousness. Three states of consciousness. Awake, sleep, and deep sleep. And the consciousness of the soul is beyond those three. Deep sleep is like being under anesthesia, where you're not feeling anything. They cut you open, you do surgery when you're under anesthesia. They do medical procedures when you're anesthetized. And then what happens when the anesthesia wears off? You feel pain from the surgery. And what happens when you're a Buddhist and you stop being in the moment or beyond the moment? It's a desire again. It's the default position because that's who we are. So the Vaishnava understanding from the Vedas is the root cause of suffering is fill in the blank. Ignorance. Root cause of suffering is ignorance. Ignorance induces ignorant desire, induces ignorant activity, induces suffering. The root cause is not desire. It's how you direct the desire. And ignorant desire leads to ignorant activity, leads to suffering. Solution? Mode of goodness, and it becomes situated in knowledge. So just like yesterday evening, some of you were here, maybe all of you were here yesterday evening, this emphasis on Jnana Yagya, 9:15, Jnana Yagya, Bhakti mixed with Jnana. That's their target. It just, it's a less than complete or less than direct method. But it's knowledge removes ignorance. Light removes darkness. Yes? Light removes darkness. Knowledge removes ignorance. So that knowledge is not cosmetic, is the knowledge that arises from bhakti. Because there's a resting place. Knowledge that doesn't arise from bhakti, what's its resting place? In time, that knowledge can disappear. But when bhakti is there, knowledge doesn't arise, knowledge doesn't disappear. By material cause or, being, a very austere person and study and so forth. Supposing, anyway, so bhakti is of the soul. Desire is of the soul. And desire properly directed, not nice, but beyond nice. Transcendental. Do we have a scholar here, or the Bhagavatam scholar? Where the verse, what's the verse in Canto 1, Chapter 2, where it is stated that from devotional service, causelessly, knowledge of detachment arise? Raise your hand, don't just blurt it out. I see, way in the back. Let's hear. Loud. Ahaitukam. Ahaitukam. Hetu means cause, and ahetu means without a cause. Knowledge of detachment arise causelessly when there's Vasudeva Bhakti, devotional service into Vasudeva. It doesn't require what we read last night. It doesn't mean you don't read Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but the reading of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to give rise to bhakti. When you're reading properly, that's what happens. When you're not reading properly, you become a Jnana Yagena fellow. You want knowledge rather than bhakti. Then that's a lot of people want knowledge rather than bhakti. But if one aspires in the essence of bhakti is that Krishna should be pleased. And when that Krishna should be pleased consciousness awakens, knowledge and detachment awaken. And the suffering is gone because it's a stable position, because there's real shelter. Now let's go back to the Bhagavatam verse, this chapter 12. There are 10 topics in the Bhagavatam. And there are 10 topics in the Bhagavatam are mentioned in 2 places in the Bhagavatam. And 2 of those 10, Sarga and Visarga. Sarga is what Vishnu does, Visarga is what... And here the word is used, Srishti. Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya, Sadhana, Shakti, Reka. So, Srishti means creation. Sthiti means maintenance. Pralaya, destruction. And there's cycles. It's moving. Matter moves by the force of time. So if you're a Buddhist, just go beyond time. You go beyond the moment. And if you're a Vaishnava, you connect with Krishna and automatically you're in transcendence where time isn't creating and destroying. But if you're in this world, time creates and time destroys. And then from the personality of Godhead, Vishnu, a plenary expansion of the original personality of Godhead, Krishna, Vishnu, in cycles of time, creates and then maintains and then withdraws, and then there's a resting period, and then again creation. So this is Brahma at the beginning of a creation period, of one of those creation cycles. And he's manifesting everything because there are varieties of living entities. This is the why creation question. Because there are varieties of living entities, and the varieties of living entities have different desire. We can say guna and karma, we can say that also, but behind the guna and karma, back there is desire. Desire to be an enjoyer. Independent desire itself isn't the issue, it's independent enjoyment desire. And so people don't want suffering. We don't want suffering, but there's suffering. So why are we suffering? Because we we don't want the suffering, but we're attached to the mood of desiring enjoyment. What time is class supposed to end? It's now 3 minutes after 8. Till 9. Okay. I'm going to tell a little Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami story that illustrates this particular point. There was a Brahmana who was visiting holy places, a well-known, highly learned Brahmana who wasn't Ballabha Acharya, but his name was same Ballabha Bhatta. Is not Ballabha Acharya. I mean, Rupa and Sanatan had a brother named Ballabha. Correct? Did Rupa and Sanatan have a brother? And what was his name? Okay. So there are different Ballabhas. That's fine. I'm doing like this because some of your eyes are starting to open. I want to see if you all stay awake. So Ballabha Bhatta was visiting Vrindavan, and he heard about the erudition of Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami had heard of the erudition of Ballabha Bhatta, so when they met, it was very sweet. And Ballabha Bhatta was made, a request is made of him. You're such a learned scholar, I'm writing a book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Can I give you a copy of the manuscript, and you can go through the manuscript and see if you find some discrepancy, and you can bring it to my attention, please? Sure. I'll be glad to critique your writing. Blah, blah, blah. It was like haughty, just, he agreed. Some days passed. Again, visiting Rupa Goswami. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And in the course of their exchange, he said, everything was very nice except I was a little uncomfortable with one section. What's that one section? The point went to the verse where Bhukti and Mukti are like two witches. And they can destroy Bhakti. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. They can create great big havoc in Bhakti, in pursuit of Bhakti. So I was a little uncomfortable with that. He didn't say, change it. Rupa Goswami said, let me consider your comment. Jiva, could you take Vallabha to the Jamuna so he can do his midday bath and say Gayatri and so forth? Jiva Goswami was there. He heard this exchange. So in the course of walking to the Jamuna, Jiva Goswami asked Vallabha Bhatta, could you explain to me what was it about that passage from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that you were uncomfortable with? Reasonable question. Open-ended question. And the answer was, well, certainly Bhukti is like a witch, but Mukti is celebrated all throughout the Vedas. So how can you consider, why is your uncle considering Mukti to be like a witch? Jiva Goswami said, you've misunderstood the writing. He didn't say Bhukti and Mukti, it's Asha, the desire for. So, senses engaged in sense object is not a problem. Desire it is not in itself a problem, it's how it's directed. And misdirected, that's a problem. And the misdirected is the previous verse. Now he, in this verse, this morning verse, he's doing a course correction. I mean, he's going, by meditating, by fixing his mind upon the personality of Godhead, he's going to enter into another feature of creation, and that's creating the systems by which persons can become elevated rather than degraded. The upward movement instead of the downward movement of a living entity towards the Supreme. Vallabha Bhatta appreciated. I didn't notice that. You're right. And then there's more to the story. He went back after his midday duties and informed your disciple and nephew. He's brilliant. He caught something that I didn't catch. And then what you wrote is just fine. And then there's something else that happened after that between Rupa and Jiva. When a spiritual master is strict with the disciple, it's not because they're cruel or uncaring or harsh. It's for the upliftment and benefit of the disciple. So Rupa Goswami was very unhappy with Jiva Goswami. He came to render some service, and you corrected him? What an upstart. You're not fit to live in Vrindavan. Leave Vrindavan. You know the story, right? You don't know the story? Obediently, Jiva Goswami left. He went in the direction of Mathura, outside of the jurisdiction of Vrindavan, and he lived in a crocodile hole along the side of the river Jamuna. And he ate mud. He was becoming ill. He didn't do madhukari, he just ate mud. Sanatana Goswami, there's details, but he found Jiva Goswami in this deteriorated condition, feeling, very sad that Rupa, his guru, had admonished him in this way. And Sanatana Goswami, there's different versions, but Sanatana Goswami went to Rupa Goswami, his younger brother, and said, "What is the most outstanding feature of the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?" Answer, Jivadaya. Compassion upon the jivas. Very good. Here's one jiva. Show your compassion. Forgive him and allow him to remain in Vrindavan under your care. Nice. So why am I narrating all this? It has to do with desire. It's not bhakti or mukti. It's the desire for is a witch. Having desire in itself is not a problem. Having desire for bhakti or mukti, two big branches of misuse of the living entity's free will, then it's like a witch. It cripples, it haunts bhakti. So how do we get rid of that desire? There's only one way. Param drishtva navartate. Param drishtva, the higher taste. The way to go beyond compromised bhakti or mechanical bhakti or the vending machine bhakti. Vending machine means I do this and do that and pull the lever and down come prema bhakti. That's not how it works. Not how it works. So the awakened state of consciousness is that Krishna is to be pleased. Isn't it? That's the definition that Rupa Goswami gives in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhakti is that which is anukulyena krishnanushilanam. That's what bhakti is. It's not jnana and karma. It's not bhakti mukti. It's anukulyena krishnanushilanam. Krishna should be pleased. That's what bhakti is. And when bhakti awakens, it's given and it's within. When bhakti awakens, then desire for bhakti and mukti are dissolved. Not only the desire is dissolved, according to Sankhya philosophy, according to Kapila's teachings, bhakti is so powerful. Drum roll, trumpet. Bhakti is so powerful that the mind material covering dissolves. Finished. No more bhakti mukti. You still have a mind, but of a spiritual mind. And you still have discernment, the intelligence is still there, but it's not a repository of bhakti or mukti. Now, the previous verse is Brahma's created the darker regions of desire. And with the darker regions of desire comes ignorant activity. That's what happens. So that's not the ultimate purpose of creation is not that, but it's there because people want it. And then the other is because the Lord wants them to be happy, but he doesn't impose it. You're not unkind. Brahma's not unkind. Brahma's not happy creating those things. That's what this verse is saying. So you want to create the other part also, because that's the real purpose of creation. Teach us there's no happiness to be found in misuse of free will, and there is happiness to be found in proper use of free will. But asha, desire. So you better watch your desire, Prabhus, and direct it in a way that's scripturally recommended. Not just mode of goodness, elevation, urdhvam gacchati sattvastha, not just that. But the bhakti direction of desire. And where do you get that? From devotees. Look around the room, I see some devotees. So we, each one of us, a service assignment is to become the speakers of, and by behavior, the examples of, Krishna is to be pleased. Good luck, everybody. That's your service assignment. Then you'll be successful. And we all get around the deity, which is beyond those modes, those other darker modes, and the holy name, which is beyond those other modes, and the Bhagavatam, and the holy places, and the service to the devotees, those five. According to Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, any one of those five, this is important, any one of those five, without offense, small adjective, without offense or qualifier, bhava immediately awakens. Another Rupa Goswami definition, the definition of sadhana. We know the definition of bhakti, anyabhilasha shunyam. What's the rest? You know the rest? Jnana karma janavratam, anukulyena krishna anushilanam bhaktir uttam. You've heard it. It's a good verse to learn and to carry it inside. What are those three phases? Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is divided into three phases: sadhana, bhava, and prema bhakti. So, the real important definition: what's sadhana bhakti? Answer: sadhana bhakti is that which gives rise to bhava. It's very intuitive, very logical. Question: how many in the room are experiencing bhava bhakti? I don't see anybody hands up. So we need to do some more work on our sadhana specific to the, put bhava bhakti in your GPS, your bhakti GPS. That's where it's meant to take you. Don't do mechanical. Do that kind of bhakti, the kind of chanting and deep worship and hearing of Bhagavatam and all serving the devotees and living in Singapore in such a way that, because that's number 5 is living in the holy place, Singapore. Or make your life such that your heart is in Vrindavan. When Lord Nityananda after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas, he wanted to go to Vrindavan. Nityananda was with him, and purposely Nityananda misdirected him to go to Shantipur to meet Advaita Acharya and then call Mother Sachi so that Sachi could spend her last time being together with her son who has just taken sannyas. And he, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was in this state of madness, in love of God, chanting and dancing, and Nityananda purposely misdirected him to get to the house of Advaitacharya in Shantipur. And when he came to the house of Advaitacharya, Lord Chaitanya came a little bit to external consciousness and said, wait a minute, this isn't Vrindavan. You've misled me. You cheated me. This is Shantipur. You said this is the Jamuna, but it's the Ganga. You lied to me and you cheated me. You said, no. Wherever you are is Vrindavan. That's what he said. Twice, I heard Prabhupada sitting on the Vyasasana. Once when the Radha Govinda deities were in Brooklyn, and then after some time it was a rented place, and then they bought a building in Manhattan. So the deities were moved from Brooklyn to Manhattan. And heard it twice, Prabhupada saying, this temple is not in Brooklyn, it's in Vaikuntha. And he spoke for Vaikuntha. Everyone went, Jai Prabhupada. Why? Because the consciousness or the activity is centered on. And then again, he said the same thing. The temple is not in Manhattan. The temple is in Vaikuntha. And I heard a recording later. Prabhupada said the same thing in Los Angeles. The temple is not in Los Angeles. The temple is in Vaikuntha. So Prabhu's, you're in Vaikuntha. You're not in Singapore. Where everything is centered on, at least in the sadhana stage, centered on the service of Krishna, service of the deities, and the service of the representative of the personality of Godhead in the form of our founder Acharya, and one who's engaged in that way, that's Vaikuntha consciousness, not mixed. That's how to get relief from the darkest region of ignorance, material existence. Around us, there's abundant ignorance. Just open your eyes and there's ignorance everywhere. But there's light also. But that light is through the medium of Vasudeva Bhakti. Then knowledge awakens. And when knowledge awakens, ignorance is dissipated. Even around you, there may be lots of ignorance. Within, ignorance is dissipated. The awakening of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so that's this morning's verse. I'll just cover one more. The phrase with Bhagavat Dhyana Putena Manasanyam Tato Srajat. He purified himself by meditation on the personality of Godhead. Then he began another term of creation. Asrajat. The other term of creation is the upward mobility of this soul or consciousness of Krishna consciousness. So let's see if there's some. $825. First question always takes a little bit longer. It's quite okay.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam. Maharaj, you mentioned about sadhana bhakti. We also hear or we read in Bhagavatam that the qualification for transcendental loving service is voluntary endeavor.
The qualification for transcendental service is
or developing attachment to the God is voluntary, or progress in devotional service is voluntary endeavor.
speak slowly. Be kind upon me. I'm this senior citizen and I can't hear so well, especially when people speak fast.
Sorry.
Be kind upon me.
Voluntary endeavor. Okay, I'll just read that one. Give me a minute. Voluntary endeavor is the qualification for advancement in Krishna consciousness.
Voluntary endeavor?
Is the qualification for advancing in Krishna consciousness. We have to do.
Okay, volition has to be there. Yes.
Yeah. So if you consider this statement, Maharaj, then how do we relate it to, let's say, our regular sadhana bhakti?
How do we induce people to engage in sadhana bhakti?
Or how do we relate it to our regular sadhana bhakti that we are doing? Because
Oh, you're speaking too fast.
okay. How do we?
No problem. You have a teacher, and the teacher says to the student, my dear student, you have a volition. Here's how you direct that volition. By this regulation, that regulation, that regulation. That's how you do it. So you do it, because that's the injunction from Guru Sadhu Shastra. It doesn't take away volition. It just properly guides it.
No,
That's not your question.
No. For example, when we come new to Krishna consciousness, devotees are inspired to do voluntary service.
Voluntary service, sure.
Yeah, we actually, nobody forces, but we want to. There is an inspiration in our heart, and we try to do voluntary service. Maybe it is cleaning the temple or whatever. You can start with small things.
Okay, great.
But when we get initiated, then we take certain vows that I'll chant 16 rounds
Yes,
daily.
I'm
Right?
familiar with it.
Yeah. Right? So then that becomes a regulation. So it is no longer a voluntary thing.
Oh,
It is
why do you say it's no longer voluntary?
because now I have taken a vow.
That's okay.
I have
That's voluntary.
to chant.
Vow is voluntary.
Yeah, but then
Yeah,
after some time I feel that, okay, I have done my chanting for today. I've done my...
No, that's not voluntary. Then you withdrew your voluntary. You took a vow. Volition isn't withdrawn. Let me ask you. Does it happen? The answer to the question is yes. Does it happen that sometimes people take initiation vows or any other vow, marriage vows or vows, and they do for some time, and then they withdraw that vow? Was that withdrawal voluntary or involuntary? Was it continuing voluntary or involuntary? Not regulation and vows don't take away volition. I'll say it the other way. Bhakti, one of the phrases I like from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's many cornucopia of wonderful phrases is, when submission slackens, that's a volition. I'm submitting, I've taken vows, now it may happen that my submission slackens. And when submission slackens, what happens? When the light becomes dimmer, darkness comes. There's no time lag. Dimmer switch, turn the illumination down, and darkness is there. It's a reciprocation. At every step. During the vow period of time, volition is there. Supposing my submission slackens, my volition goes down. What happens? That which was my material, this is what happens. That which was my material tendency surfaces again. Where somebody's weakness is, when their submission slackens, that's what appears first. until that point in time where this Shuddha or Avishuddha completely gone. There's no residual tendency remaining. So it's volition, volition, volition. Degrees of it, yes, but not, it stops because I'm now obliged. I think I've understood your question, and I think I've answered your question. But you've got to have a, yeah, but I can tell. Go ahead. You got the microphone.
So, maybe putting it very simply, right? There is a phase by where we have to, where our desire is to get into a mode where it becomes a part of our nature.
Yeah, spontaneous.
Spontaneous, but because right now, let's say we develop certain habits and that becomes part of our nature, right? So how do we make bhakti as a part of our nature?
Well, you have to get to raga bhakti. Let me ask you, is spontaneous part of our nature? Yes. And spontaneous raga bhakti leads to prema bhakti. Supposing I'm not at raga bhakti yet. I do sadhana. And sadhana, by definition, Rupa Goswami's definition, is that which gives rise to bhava. It's a continuum. It's just stages. Sadhana, bhava, prema. Let's move on. Hey, up front. Wait, we're going to give you the microphone. I can probably hear you better without the microphone.
Why did Rupa Goswami send Jiva Goswami out of Vrindavan?
Because, nice question. Rupa Goswami was interested in preserving Vrindavan not as a place for debate, because that goes on all over the place, but it's a place of pure bhakti. And he wanted his successor, not the disciple and nephew, but the next in line of disciplic succession, to not let Vrindavan become a place of debate, the place of spontaneous devotion.
But it was Jiva Goswami who asked Vallabh Bhatt to explain what he had said he doesn't have comfort in.
I don't follow.
So Jiva Goswami was the one who when Jiva Goswami asked to
It
explain.
was done politely, yes. He asked, and he made a correction of his misunderstanding.
So was it like a debate?
Jiva Goswami's intention was not malicious. That's not what Rupa Goswami thought. What he did, this is my understanding, and in discussion with other, senior Vaishnavas. Rupa Goswami wanted spontaneous devotion to pervade Vrindavan. And one of the things that can take away from spontaneous devotion is argument and logic, nyaya, dispute. That was very prevalent for centuries, where someone become very learned, and then they go on a campaign and debate and debate and debate and be victory and he didn't want that for Vrindavan. So that was why he did what he did. He wasn't scolding Jiva, you had the wrong understanding of scripture. You have the right understanding. But how do you express that? And it worked, because Jiva Goswami understood the purpose behind the scolding. So he didn't go there to engage in debate with people that have different views. Now, sometimes a great personality will do that. But my understanding is Rupa Goswami wanted very much that Vrindavan be a place of spontaneous devotion, not a place for debating and argument. Tarka apratishta. You know the meaning? Tarka apratishta.
No, Maharaj, can you explain it?
You know, logic and argument. Logic and argument cannot establish. Pratishtha, establish spontaneous love for Krishna. It's not that that was necessarily Jiva Goswami's intention, but it's to bang on the side of the head. He didn't tell him, I reject you as a disciple. This kind of exchange is not for Vrindavan. Think about it. Meditate on it. The gift that Rupa Goswami wanted to give you and me through the agency of Jiva Goswami and this little exchange with Jiva Goswami. What did he want for you and me? Through the agency of how he interacted with Jiva, that's what he wanted.
Yes, Maharaj.
He's smiling. Okay, up front.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I have two questions. Similar incident when Rupa Narayan came to
Who came?
Rupa Narayan, one of the great scholars.
Okay.
And of course, which you said is Rupa Goswami also. That time, actually it was a proper debate. He was challenging them in Vrindavan, and they just wrote down that you are the greatest.
Oh, you so celebrated it.
And that time, when Jiva Goswami sees, of course, to protect the reputation, dignity, and honor of his guru, he got into a proper, I would say, debate with Rupa Narayan.
Yeah.
I'm not able to recollect, Maharaj, what post that Rupa Goswami again admonished or chastised Jiva Goswami.
Same principle. Same principle. Now, does that mean, the answer to the question is no. Does that mean that you should never disagree with another? Here's, when the history, many of you know the history. It's a long history, but the deity of Govindaji, for the protection of the deities of Vrindavan, were taken to Jaipur. Some time passed, and there were the Ramanandis, the northern division of Sri Vaishnavas, made their headquarters in Galta, which is very near to Jaipur. Generation after generation became very much appreciative of the Sri Vaishnavas in Galta. And the Sri Vaishnavas in Galta were sponsored by, maintained by the kings. But then one king became a Gaudiya Vaishnava. Our maintenance is going to be diminished. So they started making objection to the king. About Gaudiyas don't have a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, therefore, without commentary, they're not qualified to worship the deity. And then 3 other things, without all the list. And the king who was a Gaudiya Vaishnava initiate, felt obliged by the strength of their objection to remove the Gaudiya Vaishnava pujaris from the worship of the deity. And a message was sent secretly to Vrindavan, to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, help! Vishwanath was very old. Vishwanath sent Baladev, and Baladev said the reason there isn't a commentary is because Gaudiyas accept that there isn't already a commentary, that's Srimad Bhagavatam, the natural commentary by the author. So that's our commentary. They said, no, you got to have your own commentary. We give you 30 days. I mean, one history says 30 days. Write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra in 30 days. Baladev sat before the deity and poured his heart out, told the deity what happened. I mean, not like the deity didn't know, but that was his personal relationship. That night, Baladev had a dream in which the deity, Govindaji, appeared in his dream and said, don't worry, I will dictate the commentary, which will be flawless, and no one will be able to refute it. So when he wrote, the next day he started writing, and the very beginning of Govinda Bhashya, Baladev gives credit to the form of Govinda who appeared in his dream and dictated this commentary. He says specifically, in his dream, he dictated to me that I should write this. And it's his writing, therefore Govinda Bhashya, as the title. And after he wrote it, Baladev visited Galta and presented his commentary to those that were objecting that there wasn't a commentary. And then in Galta, Baladev established a deity, Vijay Govinda, victory. He wasn't debating, he was explaining, and then victory. So that became the name of his deity, Vijay Govinda. But it was outside of Vrindavan, Jaipur, and Galta. So the residents, the followers of Rupa Goswami, certainly Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and his disciple Baladev were followers of complete, absolute followers of Rupa Goswami. They're on the platform of spontaneous devotion. Definitely. Read their commentaries. But it wasn't for the purpose of winning a debate. And what Rupa Goswami said and did in relation to Jiva Goswami, it's between guru and disciple, but my understanding is he wanted that one who has the prowess of Jiva not engage that prowess in debate and defeating, pinning people to the floor, to the mat, and saying, uncle, give up, surrender. He didn't like it. Rupa didn't want that. And Jiva didn't do it. He presented. It's part of, my understanding is, it's part of spontaneous devotion. Spontaneous devotion doesn't arise by trying to get rid of anarthas. Anarthas become diminished and eliminated when bhakti arises. Not it's a battle with your anarthas, but bhakti arises, and they're diminished and dismissed completely. That's a spontaneous platform, and which we're meant for. Doesn't mean we should be unaware of what anarthas are and how those anarthas may be influencing any one of us. But we're not the International Society for Anartha Consciousness or Anartha Nivritti Consciousness, or International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Anyway, that's my answer to your question. We have about 15 minutes till the bell rings.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, our understanding on this is so powerful. I just wanted to know a little bit more on this, that I understand Prahlad Maharaj, the great devotee, he told that by your own endeavor or by somebody else's endeavor, you cannot get spontaneous devotion or bhakti to the Lord. But if you get the dust of Mahatmas, you can achieve that. Can you explain on this thing? So
Let me ask you, what does dust of the lotus feet of Mahatma mean? Is it literal or is it figurative or both? You understand my question?
Yes.
What's your answer? Is it literal or figurative or both?
Both, I think. That
okay. Supposing you don't have a Mahatma's feet around, what do? You stay in La La Land. You take shelter of their feet through sound. We're the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. There's our founder Acharya. We worship him in a very special way. And he in turn worships and worships and worships and worships. What carried Prabhupada through was his implicit faith and devotion in Bhaktisiddhanta, without details. He did exactly what Bhaktisiddhanta did and followed it. So that's dust from the lotus feet. Now what are you going to do? You can go and touch the Murti's feet, and there's probably some dust on the Murti's feet. That's one possible method. But you can take dust, but supposing you think that's it, my job is done. You need the instructions, which is the sign that the dust has reached your heart. So that's what we do. Faithfully, consistently, steadily.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Let me say one more thing, just in connection with your question. Do you like reading Prabhupada's books? Very much, right?
Yes.
I can tell from your question you do. So, Nectar of Instruction, or Upadesh Amrita, text 7, is the final verse of the sadhana section of Upadesh Amrita. And he issues two directives to go beyond the jaundice-like condition of not having a taste for the holy name. And those two, adhara and audinam. Adhara is... Somebody doing something? You're doing that. Oh. So, in the third line, kintu adhara. Adhara, that's good. Very good. Adhara. Adhara means, in the English translation, Prabhupada is chanting carefully. And the word adara, I'm preparing for a japa retreat. And so I spent hours finding where the references for adara. It means with great respect. The name is pure, and we're not. But to become pure, adara, great respect for the Bhagavatam, for scripture, for the disciplic succession, for those who bestow that which is pure, and then that which is pure. Adara, great respect. Then audinam, every day, or 24 hours daily, but regularly, daily. So that's the sadhana that can awaken bhava. It cleanses the contamination, this jaundice-like condition. The potency is there to do, provided we do those two things. Then it's not mechanical. Adara is not mechanical. And then there's degrees of adara, degrees of respect. So, that's our assignment. And to inspire others by our example and in company of others in kirtan, etc., to achieve that objective. We have 9 minutes left. Let's see on the Mataji side. You're pointing to the men's side. Let's ask the Matajis. No one's raising their hand. Okay. Go to the men's side.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, I want to know, the desires come from the mind as
No.
well as Atma, or?
No, it's from the soul. The mind is a medium for the soul. So let's supposing one becomes free from the material mind. Does that mean desire stops? Desire is of the soul. And then the medium through which desire is expressed is through the mind.
Yeah, but
But
in the beginning of devotional service, we identify so much with the thoughts of the mind as ourselves.
that's conditioned life.
Yeah,
But that wasn't your question.
yeah.
Your
Because
question is, where do they arise?
so my understanding is, when we know certain rules that we are supposed to do this way, still we get some thoughts which are not against those thoughts.
Of
so
course.
so that means the thoughts are arising from the mind separately, right?
No,
Not my
no,
own.
No. There, we have a mind, and in the mind there's all these impressions, samskaras from so much this and that and the other thing. And they can just sit there in a seed-like form, and then after some time, here comes a thought that you forgot. Well, you don't see how this is connected with that. But so, yes, and when the machine is moving, some parts will move because the machine is moving. But where does the machine arise from? The soul has a desire to be a separate enjoyer, and so we get a machine made of material energy.
So in certain situation, when we,
Keep arguing in favor of the mind is it generates desire.
when we have that tug of war between thoughts of the mind and our own choice of the free will which we want to choose, so that time mind is not the active principle of suggesting something.
I'm not sure what you just said.
Uh,
Say it slowly.
like when there is a tug of war between thought of the mind or suggestion of the mind, between my own choice of free will, what I want to choose at that situation, I'm confused that desires are actually mine, which is coming through the mind. So it is. I feel that it is a thought of the mind, a suggestion from the mind.
But that's the condition. What my understanding of what you're stating and asking is, once the machine is moving, the conditioned state of living entity this is the cause and effect of how the machine moves. You're describing the cause and effect of the mind as a machine. And then you're the observer of the machine or the mind and the desires and the stuff that goes on, the emotions that go with the desires. But where does the mind come from? Where does what's collected and gathered in the mind come from anyways? Where does the mind come from anyways? It's awarded to a living entity because of a desire. Go back and back and back and back and back and back, and that's where it starts. Not just when it's operating. Where does it start? It starts with the separate desire for enjoyment, and then the modes of nature act, and then impressions, and the whole machine moves. Take the microphone from him. He's going to do it again.
Okay, I'll ask at the end of purification, are there again the thoughts of the mind and the thoughts of the soul? Do they become like the same? They are separate, or
they're separate? One is the byproduct of the other, and the byproduct of the other, the byproduct is what's in the mind. It's the same question asked in a different way. It's the same answer in a different way. Take the microphone from him. Someone else. We have a question up front for somebody that already asked one. But did anybody that hasn't asked one yet?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
You get the last question. Isn't that nice?
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, in second canto, in the chapter 7, there is a scheduled incarnations. And in that, the 4 Kumaras are mentioned as the incarnations. And then we also read, I think in the next verse here, in the 3rd canto, Brahma is creating the 4 Kumaras.
Well, create, manifesting, not creating. They're eternal.
Okay. And then later, there another description where it is mentioned that the Sanat Kumaras, they are impersonal in nature. And when they smell the tulsi, the fragrance, and then they get that bhakti. So just want to understand that.
That's a Leela. Shukadeva Goswami, how did he start? And what did he become? He heard Bhagavatam from Vyas, and his state of neutrality went beyond neutrality. Kumars, smelling, attracted, enlivened their senses. They're bhaktas. Okay, we're going to end.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Srila Prabhupada ki.